Hello and welcome to the Winning Agenda's coverage of the Reddit Twilight Struggle League 2020B. This is the Eisenhower Division, which is the second division, well, equal second division, I think, of the Reddit Twilight Struggle League. And we're playing random sides, and we've got the USSR again, which is nice. Have destalinisation, always nice to have. Romanian abdication means that it's possible we can snag a Europe domination on turn 1 if things go well. Nuclear test ban gives us an opportunity to coup Italy with a reasonable number of ops, and special relationship is hopefully one that we can deal with. So all in all, not too bad a hand. Hoping that our opponent's not going to stream snipe us. I will just make sure our webcam's in the right spot as well. There we go. So, yeah. Good luck to our opponent. 60 minutes. Confirming the rules before you start is always a good thing to do. So, destalinisation, Romanian abdication, probably going to headline that to get that in the bag. And it's really nice having the combination of those two cards, actually, because it means you can put the influence into Romania with Romanian abdication and then get it out with destalinisation, hopefully before it becomes a threat with independent Reds and Truman Doctrine. Suez Crisis is nice because it's 3 free ups if we want it, which we'll probably need here. East European unrest, one we can probably play later in the turn. We'll see what happens with this Italy coup and how important this influence in Austria is. Also what the situation ends up being like in the rest of Europe. So with a hand where we are going to coup Italy first, it does open us up a little bit in the Middle East, which means, obviously depending on how everything goes, this duck and cover could be important. So they've gone 3-3, interesting. So we'll headline the Romanian abdication into Olympic Games. Can we win an Olympic Games role? Never seen it happen. Nope. Yet again, it is 100% to the sponsor, in my experience. So we'll coup Italy with our 4-op and come on 5 or 6. 4 will do. 4 will do. So we can use duck and cover here if we want, but we probably won't. It depends what our opponent does, but we'll probably use Suez Crisis instead to put influence into Italy, probably Afghanistan and possibly South Korea. US-Japan makes the South Korea play even more attractive. So, okay. So this means we will honour that and we'll put 1 into Syria. We'll put 2 into Italy. And we'll let them move into Thailand if they want, which we can coup with duck and cover. We could have put 1 into France there instead, but we'll let them have that, I think. And then we'll try and pop Europe scoring next, depending on whether, if they play independent Reds, that would be annoying. But short of that, that will be where we go. Unless they do play into Thailand here, in which case we'll go ahead and coup. So we'll go on to, do 5 influence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to make sure of that. And then we'll shore up Austria. It also gives us a riposte if they do play independent Reds. It means we're 1 op away from taking an additional non-battleground in Europe. So the question then becomes, and this depends largely on whether they play into Thailand whilst DEFCON's still at 4, whether we perhaps coup Malaysia, whether we coup Iran, or whether we play duck and cover elsewhere. With duck and cover, I am kind of tempted to coup Malaysia. We need a 3+, but that's pretty decent odds to effectively take Thailand. So I think I will here just pop the Europe scoring. We can also then de-Stalinize ourselves out of Romania into Thailand rather than coupping. But perhaps we can save those de-Stalinization influence and spread them into mid-war battlegrounds more effectively if we are successful on that coup. So that may be worthwhile. I think we'll try coupping Malaysia here. Because I think... I'm just wondering whether we want to pop Europe first just to give us more flexibility later in the turn. Yeah, I think we will. We'll just take those VPs and then we'll coup Malaysia, assuming they don't degrade DEFCON, which it's possible that they will. Okay, nope. Doesn't look like it anyway. So taking South Korea. So now I'll do the Malaysia coup. So we'll trigger that. And coup... do the other way around. Coup first. Attempt coup on Malaysia. The one roll we didn't want. That's okay. All is not lost. All is not lost. We still have the de-Stalinization option, though it is a little annoying. Okay. Where's this going? Interesting. Well, let's go ahead and take 3 from Romania, 1 from Finland. Pardon me. We'll put 2 into Thailand, 1 into Venezuela, 1 into Chile. Yet again, I think. So unfortunately, Asia's not looking superb. But we probably don't want to go there with DEFCON at 4 is the problem. DEFCON at 3 is the problem. So perhaps we'll... East European unrest loses an influence anyway afterwards, so we can probably just afford to coup here on Libya. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So not great rolls. I mean, we landed the important coup on AR1, but these last 2 coup rolls have been quite disappointing. A 1 and a 2. At least we have a decent follow-up here into Thailand. Well, we may have lost it, depending on what happens. Hopefully we don't lose both Pakistan and Thailand. But I'm not really keen to de-Stalinize 2 influence into Pakistan. It's never a good one to have to do, especially if you don't have Indo-Pakistani war. Apologies about my voice. Seems to be breaking up a little bit tonight. So we'll see how we go. Okay. Yep. Annoying. Okay. Well, we'll just go like so. And we'll play into Angola, Pakistan. Will we? I do want to put 2 into Latin America, and I think I want to put 1 in Southeast Asia and North Asia at this point. So perhaps I give up on the Angola one. I do. It is really a really hard choice, but I think, and if we don't get decol, then we're going to regret that, not being able to get into Africa. But I think this is important enough to do it this way. Just because we do have another Africa access card. We've got there's 2 Southeast Asia access cards, obviously Vietnam Revolts and decolonization, and only 1 Africa access card in the early war, but okay. So they popped the Asia scoring for 6, which is unfortunate for us, but it could have been worse. So we got decol, which is good for our Asian position and our African position. We've got 2 one-ops, which we probably want to lead off with in the headline phase, partly because we don't want decol to get defectors, and because these are worth less in action rounds. That way we can also Nasser and then Coup Libya, and Middle East scoring is the only early war scoring card that's left out there. Blockade and socialist governments are good. Even if we get red scared here, I think we have enough events to play that it shouldn't be too problematic. So we'll go ahead and Nasser, and we may event both socialist governments and de Gaulle here. Depends what their hand starts to look like. We've got a fair amount of pressure on their hand between socialist governments, de Gaulle, and blockade. But it is nice to have a 3-up to follow de Gaulle up with, and we're probably going to have to coup with a 3-up instead. Because I think this coup on Libya is probably important enough now that we want to do more than spend a 2-up on it. Because independent reds is free, but yep, we also want to try and move into the Mediterranean countries to solidify our Europe domination, and also to protect Italy, obviously, from brush war as well. Okay, containment is going to make it harder to event blockade this turn, so we probably won't. We might hold it, see if we get red scare next turn, but we'll see how things turn out. In any event, I think we want to event socialist governments more than we want to event Comecon, so we'll go ahead and coup with Comecon. Hopefully roll better on the second time round in Libya. Didn't roll better, but it's a better outcome since we're in Egypt this time. NATO influence in Pakistan, fair enough. I assume that means that they have Indo-Pakistani war, which makes me more reluctant to play into India. So what we might do is either keep the pressure up on them in Europe using these cards, or we'll try and... They've also got one into Thailand there, which is pretty annoying because it makes our decolonization worse. We can use decol to try and even up country count, or we can just say Asia's a bit of a lost cause right now. Let's try and turn our focus elsewhere. We don't want to get Asia controlled, that's the thing. That's okay. I think we'll take domination here, and then probably do the same. Maybe we want to go to space, actually. I don't think they've got the Middle East scoring card. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I think we can put ourselves to domination. Actually, we'll go Iraq first. Put ourselves to domination. And then... do we go Iraq first? We don't want to randomly get realigned out of Europe. Oh, we can't because of DEFCON restrictions. Okay, out of Europe, out of Egypt. Yeah, I think that's better. You know, they could go to space here, but that's okay. if they do. We probably want to pop decol reasonably soon. It's kind of a toss-up whether we want to use socialist governments to try and pester them in Europe. I kind of actually don't, now that they've got containment. I'd rather spread more aggressively because they're going to be able to leverage operations pretty well. That's why locking them out with Iraq was actually quite important there too, I think. So they're just moving in Asia, which indicates to me that they don't have Middle East scoring. And we'll go, I think, 1, 2, 3 and just really threaten Africa as much as we can. 4. I think that's better than going into Indonesia, just because it makes Vietnam revolts still a little bit harder for them to play. I mean, they're probably just going to be able to play at last action round anyway, but we might as well make it as difficult as possible for them to play. Yeah, Asia's not looking good. So I think if we use our reasonably strong hand ops-wise to play a little more into Europe, that will be helpful. So we'll go ahead and play socialist governments to put 2 in Portugal, 1 into Zaire. Actually, I'll put another one into Angola because I think I don't want that getting flipped here. And then we'll put 1 into Zaire next action round. And then we'll probably play 2 into Libya. This was just important because it sort of, I mean, it's good for Italy for brush war. It's good for keeping domination. And it's the one that they have access to at the moment. So in all regards, I think that was an important place to play this turn. So they've got a surplus of ops, but we've kept them a little bit boxed in, which is good. So NASA really helped with that. We'll try and take an extra VP in the Middle East here in Libya. We'll see if they move across to Tunisia. They might, but it's kind of a little bit nothing to do that. It's probably going to be for us 1 in Zaire, 2 in Libya. And then we've got to really hope that we draw Red Scare. Because if we get Red Scared next turn, we're going to lose a lot of momentum. I think whoever gets the Middle East scoring card, we're going to be in the best place to pick up a few VPs there. But when Asia comes around again, that's a hefty score to them. And Europe's only going to pick a little bit back up for us. So we've got to do really well in these mid-war regions. And as well as we can in the Middle East. And it's always nice as the Soviets to fill up the Middle East a bit more. I mean, it's annoying that it's only going to be scored once in the early war and the mid-war. Okay, so that's pretty good for them. Fair enough, gets them the mill-ups and gets us out. So pretty strong play. I think we'll just go ahead and do this. Do we want to play into Greece instead of Zaire? Yeah, we're not really in a rush to play into Zaire, I don't think. I kind of want to overprotect North Korea as well, to be honest. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I do also want to spread in South America. Maybe Greece is not a huge priority. Let's go like this. Although we did say we want to take Libya. I think I'm happy to give them special relationship rather than go into space. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to go to space this turn anyway. So we can go to space last action round, but I think Libya is probably better since it's OPEC as well. But we can also go there next turn if we draw the scoring card. Although if they go into Tunisia AR6, then that'll be pretty annoying for us. Yeah, so I'm inclined, I think, to do that rather than go into space. We could also draw a captured Nazi scientist. Defectors are still out there, so we have to be careful for that either way. But yeah, CNS unaccounted for. Defectors. And of course, Middle East scoring. We don't want to get Truman out of Italy too, so I kind of want to put one more there, but we can't have influence everywhere. I kind of feel like they're holding a 4 up to try and make a strong play on AR6. Okay. Well, we'll just go ahead and do this. And then, sure, if they flip Nigeria, I think that's okay. But we want to be in the position to dominate the Middle East next turn. Like, they were always going to have the ops to try and break us somewhere, and we couldn't just overprotect every battleground on the board. I think it's important that we didn't lose North Korea, because getting controlled here would be obviously catastrophic. And they've just had such a strong hand, like no red cards and no one-ups. Under containment is an incredibly strong hand to have. Okay. So took the one in France, and then they've gone Vietnam revolts. So unfortunate that we lost that. And we lost Libya, but it gives us, coup target acquired. Hopefully our third coup on Libya will be a little more successful. We'll headline capture Nazi scientist, and then we'll coup again with Comecon. I think we'll not coup with Marshall Plan, because we want to we'll probably use it to take Greece and Turkey on the action round that we play it, but we might just dump Europe scoring first. But in any event, let's play captured Nazi scientist, pardon me, and then look to Comecon coup Libya. I think that's a reasonable plan. The other option is to Cambridge 5 in the headline phase, but I think because we know they've got Middle East scoring, and that lets us put one in Libya and then coup it. But I think I'd rather take the space VP, and I'm less concerned if CNS gets defectors. We've also got to deal with this Nigeria situation, ideally, but okay, so they take the coup in Africa, I assume. Which means that we would have been far better off playing the Cambridge 5 in our headline phase. That's assuming that we do lose the opportunity to coup here. We can also just take Saudi Arabia, so all is not lost in terms of still trying to dominate the Middle East. They can obviously then take Israel. We could flip Lebanon, but that would require us playing Marshall Plan to do that. I mean, we can always UN intervention it, so it's not a huge deal. But yeah, using UN intervention to flip Lebanon, probably not exactly where we want to be. Okay, so a strong roll for them. So we'll coup Saharan states this turn, but I think given we know that they've got the Middle East scoring card, we'll make sure that we're dominating, and then we'll play... Do we play into Cameroon or overprotect Nigeria? We've got some reasonable coups on Cameroon, but reasonable cards to coup Cameroon with, that is. But I don't love that. Other option, of course, is to put the other one into Israel or continue developing in South America. But I think I don't want to lose control of Africa. I think that would be not good for us in the long term. So let's go ahead and do, or is the one in Cameroon better? Now, we don't want to give them another free mill-up, because we can actually still get a VP out of mill-ups this turn if we coup on AR6, or we can even them up. Yeah, we'll see how we go. But I think I prefer that at this point. Gives them a free shot at Zaire, but it's all right. Yeah, so they've had... they've kept the pressure on really, really well. But again, that's a lot of one-ops that we've now used. But we know they've got Red Scare, so it was interesting that they chose to headline CIA created rather than Red Scare Purge. I think if we had been Red Scared this turn, it would have been pretty difficult for us. Perhaps they're holding it for next turn, which we might try and nab with Blockade, to be honest, towards the end of the turn. If that's the case, if it remains unplayed, we might look to coup with Blockade. Sorry, to event Blockade, just to nab that Red Scare Purge. So all in all, in the early war, yes, we got... Oh, well, there it is. Coming out for influence in Israel. Fair enough. And Zaire, well, we'll just take the Europe scoring and let them score Middle East for evensies. So I think all the other 4-ops have been played. US-Japan was played by them on turn 1. Yep, so we had Test Ban and Marshall Plan, and they had the other 3. So there goes the Middle East scoring for 0. So now we'll probably just, spend the rest of the turn. We're going to coup Saharan states. But we... do we need to do that now? I don't think we do. If they move into Cameroon, obviously we will coup one of them. But I think for now, we'll just move in and fill up... we could challenge them in South Korea, but I think there's more for us if we just go ahead and work on South America for now. Not super keen to try and get into ops battles. I mean, one of the advantages of trying to have an ops battle in Asia here would be that we can try and bait some of their 3 and 4 ops out, but they know we've got Blockade at this point, so their chances of that being a successful strategy are reasonably low. And because they had containment on this turn, they actually got a lot of 3-op plays with 2-op cards, so there's actually still, plenty of options. They could have redrawn any of the 3-ops that were played early on. And there are actually a lot of 1-ops out of the deck because we evented both NASA and Romanian Abdication. They've now evented CIA. We had CNS and we had UN intervention this turn, so the chances are that their hand is actually reasonably ops rich still at this point. They've evented Fidel, Korean War, and Vietnam revolts as well, so a lot of the 2s are out of the way on our side. So really it's the 2 France attack cards that they could still have, De Gaulle and Suez Crisis as 3s. They've also evented Warsaw, obviously. We had Comic-Con again this turn. So yeah, probably De Gaulle, Suez, most likely that they've got. Otherwise, Duck and Cover 5-year plan and East European Unrest are all available as well. So if we're going to coup Saharan states, probably finish off Chile. We might move into Nicaragua or Haiti, but I still think we might just event this Blockade to flush out a card, a high ops card, just to keep their ops down more than anything. We could also go to space with Formosan. Okay, Truman staying in the deck. I think I'm happy to coup now, actually. Maybe we will hold on to Formosan, so we'll just coup with the Cambridge 5 on Saharan states. A reasonable coup, but one that invites a counter coup, unfortunately. Unfortunately, but for both Nigeria and for our chances of keeping a mil-ops advantage. If we rolled higher and this was, either, I think, a 3 or higher, it becomes 3 or higher over control. It becomes less advantageous and appealing for them to spend the ops cooing that as a non-battleground country, even though it does swing domination. So we're not going to succeed on this. Oh, we are. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that was good. And that was good. Well, that was a hugely successful action round for us. I think we will probably go to space with Formosan because I'm not super interested in just giving them another battleground country here. Okay, fail. So I think they're probably holding De Gaulle or Suez for blockade. But in the event that they haven't got either of those two, we'll hit something relevant with blockade because we'll hit duck and cover, EEU, or 5-year plan. And not allowing them to carry 5-year plan into the mid-war could also be good. But we're in a decent spot now for OPEC as well. We'll pick up at least 4 of OPEC. Okay, so they did spend another 3 op card. Blockade can be nice to have in the deck later, but we'll just take the punt. I mean, yeah, if they discard Suez or De Gaulle, it's not great, but the others, it's pretty good for us to get rid of because we don't really want them headlining duck and cover next turn, probably. They don't have NORAD, and we probably want to hold on to the coup. Would have been okay to coup Cameroon there. I could totally see that being the play. Interesting. So they did have SocGov. Let's go 1, 2, 3. So De Gaulle and Suez both still in the game, even though De Gaulle's in the discard pile for now. Won't be back till later. It does make a bit more of a threat for them in Europe. Interesting that they didn't go to space there with the SocGov. I mean, discard De Gaulle, go to space, have a shot at a VP. Maybe they just don't care about overprotecting France at this point. Okay. They really wanted that Colombia play. So annoying that we didn't get 5-year plan to dump this, but we've got Junta and Brush War and really just a pretty nice hand all up. So, you know, Defectors is out there. I'm kind of probably more keen to Junta in action round 1. Liberation Theology is also pretty important. I think I'd rather just chuck Brezhnev Doctrine, even though we're probably going to event. We're going to event quite a few cards here, which makes me less inclined to use Brezhnev Doctrine and more inclined to try and hold it. Could headline Willy Brandt. Yeah, I think I do want to try and hold Brezhnev Doctrine here. Headline Willy Brandt, Junta AR1, Brush War AR2. This is a very powerful hand. Got all our access cards and, well, a lot of our access cards and 2 of the 3 mid-war power cards. I think Brush War AR2 is going to be fine. So I think Willy Brandt AR1 is just an annoyance for them, which is fine. We'll space John Paul, we can play the rest. Seems okay. I don't think having heaps of ops is really going to help us even up Asia necessarily. I mean, it means we can jam South Korea and maybe try and jam Japan with a China card, but US-Japan pact's unaccounted for. We'd have 2 cards to effectively do the jamming with. Plus Willy Brandt 3. Maybe that's better, just to try and actually even up. Gives us a chance to even up this Asia scoring rather than giving it away. Because yeah, we get 1, 2, 3 cards. Potentially this, but I think this is probably too valuable. But at least 3 cards that we can be jamming with. Okay. Well, not ideal, but it also makes the Junta Coup better. That's worth saying. I assume that we're going to lose this position, but we'll be able to get it back AR1, so all is not lost. Yep, great. So we'll play that, go there, and we'll coup Panama, I think. Yep. And it's a 3-op coup, which is nice, but it's a fail. So not going super well on those coup rolls. I don't think we've rolled above a 3 since our first coup on Italy. Let's hope the brush war roll goes a little better. But yeah, this is now a much better hand, thanks to headlining Brezhnev Doctrine, to also recover from that AR1 play, that headline play from them. Because it means we've got just plenty of ops to fight in South America here, assuming that we don't get realigned out of Venezuela. I still think it was better to go into Venezuela there than into Brazil. Like, we could have gone into Brazil and been a little safer from a random realign, but then we just give them Venezuela, and I don't love that. So we're not going to be super keen to coup in Africa this turn is the other thing. We're going to be more wanting to spread, just try and retake South America, try and force our way into Asia. I think that's enough priorities, pardon me, for one turn. Liberation Theology obviously gives us the opportunity to take Mexico as well, which is handy. But yeah, if we can even up this Asia score, that's just huge for us. Okay, so they did go the realign. Let's hope it's not successful. Well, now we do kind of have to get into a coup war, which is really annoying. That's incredibly frustrating. Okay, so we'll coup with Willy Brandt on Colombia and hope that that sticks. Depends what they throw back at it, but that's a reasonable roll. Obviously could have got it to being completely impregnable basically, but that's okay. They could have ABM treaty as well here to follow up. No, they're going for that. Okay, hopefully a poor roll. Well, it's unfortunate because we're wasting our Brezhnev Doctrine turn doing this, but I think we'll still do it because I think this access is worth enough VPs that it's worthwhile. It just means that our dream of evening up Asia is kind of evaporating before our eyes. Yeah, that realign was very unfortunate. I mean, yeah, could have gone into Brazil, but then we lose Venezuela anyway. It's kind of like a toss-up. But well played by them, spotting it as the appropriate play. I still think Liberation Theology is worth more to us played than played for an event, that is, than used to try and jam something in Asia. We'll see how we go though. We'll brush war first on Thailand before we go into South Korea, I think, because we just don't want to tip them off. I mean, either way we tip them off a little bit. I think we will brush one now, which is handy. And then we can jam with the China card, and make it so they can only take it back with a 4-op card. Or we can jam with Eastern European unrest and mean that they can take it back with a 3-op. The fact that they space their South African unrest indicates that their hand may not be particularly strong to me. But we've only got 3 more action rounds, so we probably want it to be... We don't need to play Liberation Theology this turn because we're going to event it, but we're not going to play John Paul. It's going to be a space. So we've really only got... We could play East European Unrest and the China card and hold John Paul and Liberation Theology over to next turn. They could be our 3 plays for the remainder of the turn. How many countries they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to our 4. So the other option we have is to try and even up the country count, but it's just not looking good at the moment because we elected not to play into Indonesia. We went 1 more into Africa instead with Decol. So there's the duck and cover. Evening up country count, playing defensively, but not in South Korea, which is kind of good for us, I think. So I think this is one of those situations where this is worth enough VPs that we just have to go for it. They can obviously take Japan, but then we get South Korea, and we get to score Asia for evensies, which would be amazing. So we'll see if they've got a 4-op. Obviously 4-ops for the USA a little bit more scarce in the mid-war. The Flower Power is obviously playable, but We Will Bury You is not. We know that Marshall Plan is out because we played it on turn 3 with the UN intervention, so it's really just Test Ban and US-Japan Pact that they could have here. And NATO, did they play NATO on turn 2? Yeah, so they could have NATO as well. But short of one of those cards, we'll be reasonably happy with how this has worked out. Okay, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds good. Remembering that East European unrest for us is a 4-op. So if they put 1 into France, 2 into South Korea, then we get to play 4. Otherwise, we could potentially attack France. Okay, we've gone for Japan, so that's worked out pretty well for us. So we can go trigger EEU. All of our battlegrounds are overprotected, so we need to make sure that North Korea is overprotected as well. So we need to go 1, 2, 3. Sorry, South Korea is overprotected. 1, 2, 3, and then I think we go 1 into France to threaten to take it with a 4-op. We could also go 1 into Venezuela, but I think that's more threatening. We could also overprotect East Germany because they could try and jam there, but if they had a 4-op, they would have already jammed in response to South Korea rather than playing Suez Crisis into Japan. Okay, interesting. They had Usuri all along. Well, I guess that works out poorly for us then. There you go. Yeah, I guess that didn't work in response to our initial play. So what can you do? We were a fair way behind at the start of the turn in Asia, and we ran into some unfortunate situations in South America. So sometimes them's the breaks. And Allende gives us Chile and lets them repair a little bit in France. So we will take these back because I think as long as we can reclaim them for the late war, we should be okay. Cool. So I don't mind headline Liberation Theology here. Other option is to headline We Will Bury You, but we're a little bit scant on ops. Not a huge amount, but a little bit. And we kind of do want a coup, although we don't want to lose North Korea. So maybe headline We Will Bury You is the play. Like, it's nice VPs. It means we don't have to coup straight up. And it means we can retake these important countries here and pressure somewhere else. It means that Africa is going to be a real problem for us this turn. But I think it's going to be anyway. Flipping one battleground's not going to make the difference. We can try and sneakily kick them out of Cameroon, but that's really just going to be a negative score for us. We've just got to try and turn Central America into a positive one, which we have a chance to do with Liberation Theology. So yeah, I think We Will Bury You is probably the headline here, because I think those are going to be important enough. Well, that's unfortunate. At least we don't get cooed, but we'll chuck John Paul to the bear trap. Oof. Bear trap has not been our friend recently, has it? So we probably lose North Korea and South Korea to that bear trap. That is a very, very painful bear trap. Okay. Interesting. They probably have South America scoring here, I imagine. This is very gross. Oh, that extra action round just really hurt. So we'll see what they choose to do. They might not value those Asian battlegrounds as highly as we do right now, but I'd be really surprised if they didn't just play the China card into North Korea here. If they do that, then I'll just play 1 into South Korea, 3 into Venezuela, I think, with NATO. Ugh. Okay. Yuck. Well, we'll go 1, 2. We only need 3. So I think we'll go 1, 2, 3. Hold on to NATO for now. They might coup Haiti. We'll have to coup back with Summit and hope that it's successful. Hope that we don't roll a 1. Other option, of course, is to Liberation Theology if they do that, but we want to both take Mexico, and there's no point putting 1 in Panama. So, I mean, we could go 2 in Mexico, 1 into either Nicaragua or Haiti at that point. But if they coup Haiti successfully here, putting 1 into Nicaragua is not going to be enough to save Cuba. So we will probably have to do the Summit coup. And what are we going to be holding? We can't do everything this turn. We're probably going to be holding NATO at that point, because we've got this darned Africa scoring that we're going to have to play. Yeah, that CIA created coup on turn 2 was, on turn 3, was very, very annoying. Losing the coup that turn and getting, them rolling a 6 on Angola. Turned out that it hurt us quite a lot, because we had put quite a lot of stock into that by orienting our decolonization more towards Africa, and then ending up losing that was not good news. Okay, so they're giving us a few events at least. That's something. Helps the VPs keep flowing. So France and Mexico, annoying. Means that we can't really threaten much with that Liberation Theology. So I think I'm going to take the Africa scoring just to hopefully free up another action round, because we're not going to change that situation. We simply don't have enough action rounds. We could have cashed the Central America scoring earlier. But hopefully they just either have heaps of our cards or terrible cards in hand. Okay, here's that coup. I think... kind of torn. So we've got 3 ARs left. So we can hold Summit. So we could go liberation theology, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Nicaragua, 1 in Haiti, but it doesn't really change the situation too much. It means that if they coup, it's a bit poorer for them, but they're probably just going to play 1 in Mexico. Like, they can just play ops back into the countries, which ultimately is not going to save Cuba anyway, because we have to play the scoring card. We can play 2 into Mexico, 1 into Nicaragua, which means that we can refill Cuba if they coup Nicaragua. Yeah, I think we just have to hope that they have terrible ops here, but they do have the China card, so it's not a great play, but I think we might as well make it. I mean, they could realign in response, is the danger, at +1 on Cuba and +1 on Mexico. Yeah, that feels pretty bad. I think we just take the 2 VPs and say that is fine. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of sources of VPs left. We've got 3 VPs at the moment from OPEC if we draw it, but we've really got to try and flip Venezuela or Brazil at some point soon. Yeah, that timing was just terrible for us in terms of those scoring cards. There's also VPs outstanding in Southeast Asia that we can try and pick up too in Burma. But this is not feeling great. That Ussuri, devastating. Losing those VPs there. Because we were sitting on, like, not a huge lead, but a reasonably comfortable sort of position before that. And if we'd managed to hold on to a reasonable chunk of VP's lead, it would have been more foreseeable that we could claw our way back. And we just spent so many resources trying to flip Asia back last turn. And we had a great hand as well, so we were very lucky. So anyway, let's see what occurs here. That double bear trap at the start of this turn did not help. There's the chance that we draw IP war. I think, did they have it in the mid-war already? No, they didn't have it on turn 3. They had it on turn 2. I think, yeah. So there is still the chance that we can flip India and take Asian domination in final scoring, but it's very hard to dominate Asia as the USSR in final scoring. You've got to overprotect so much, and we're still behind on country count. Oh, okay. Well, there goes a few VPs, hopefully, from OPEC. Yeah, breaking OPEC manually... breaking Egypt manually, I'm not sure about that. Denies us a VP, but there are probably better things they could do with that. I think we probably coup and then just hold onto this liberation theology for the last action round. Like, I think we coup Haiti here. Yeah. Not great. We could have also tried to coup Cameroon, but given that we had both Central America and Africa scoring, it was just so bad. We could have also triggered the liberation theology earlier in the turn, but not really. Like, our first 2 ARs were nothing, so that kind of deprived us of that. We could have headlined it, but then we lose a coup as well, which is probably not great for us. That's probably another Middle East country gone. Okay. So kind of okay, I guess, because now we can respond with liberation theology. I think that's better than going the 1 into Nicaragua. We've also got the flip opportunity on Angola and on Zaire. Like, they don't have heaps of ops. We could have done either of those with NATO instead. But I think retaking Cuba was probably important enough in the long run to go ahead and do that, although they are +2 on Mexico, so if they realign again here, we're at decent odds to lose both Cuba and Mexico. So we can hope that we pick up a few VPs with flower power. I mean, in a lot of games as the USSR, I think probably 6 or 8 is the most I've ever had. That's a decent chunk. Like, that's a reasonably successful to highly successful scoring card. But you've got to hope that you can keep the pressure on your opponent and that they draw lots of war cards. Which we kind of don't want them to have IP war. We've already had brush war. But we don't want them to get it on turn 7. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I mean, they had the opportunity to do that earlier in the turn. We can repair it if we don't get the coup. I think we'll just cash Southeast Asia scoring and just take back North Korea. Because we can't coup in the headline phase here. Sorry, we can't degrade DEFCON in the headline phase. We can SALT negotiations for, I don't know, brush war. OPEC, probably our best targets at the moment. SALT negotiations for brush war. 4+ on Venezuela, would we rather that? Yeah, that seems okay. What else are we getting? 2 VPs from headlining Southeast Asia scoring and an action round back and 3 ops from this. We do give them the coup by doing it that way because we go headline Southeast Asia scoring, AR1 fill up North Korea. So if they coup Argentina, maybe we lose South America domination as well. We could headline Latin American death squads instead. And then go the coup and give up North Korea, but that feels so bad in the long run. Like, I don't think we can win this game if we let them have North Korea. Maybe Latin American death squads is a better headline anyway to try and protect Argentina a little bit. Yeah, I can see that. Although SALT negotiations also does that, and it gets us brush war, which is probably better. Like, it protects it just as much. Okay, well, I'm glad we didn't headline Southeast Asia scoring into that. And I think brush war is going to be better than Junta here. And probably better than OPEC. Because we really just need to flip Brazil or Venezuela. So we could coup North Korea instead. It's an option, but it's not great. But nah, actually, I think we'll probably do this because there's a decent chance they've got Cultural Revolution. And we just like that VP, I think, from Lao. We can overprotect later in the turn, but I think that's decent. Do we want to do that? Do we want to hand over the China card? CIA is out of the way. We're low on the space race. I think we can. And Cultural Revolution is still out there. I mean, they could space Cultural Revolution, but we'll try and get enough pressure on them that they can't. I think we just have to scramble for VPs anywhere we can find them, really. Which might mean that we want to take Burma, since all the rest of the Southeast Asian countries are tied up. So we've got US-Japan pact. We need to coup, obviously, to get DEFCON down, but Zaire and Angola are both looking like decent targets. We can also coup Brazil. We've got really high ops to do that. And we've got brush war to follow up with. So this feels okay. Just as long as we don't get, like, weirdly realigned out of Italy or something. Okay, They're putting DEFCON back down. Fair enough. In that case, let's go 2 into Burma and 2 into Uruguay. And then we'll try and brush for Venezuela. We'll 4+ it. If we hit, then we're, a chance to control. If we don't hit, then we hopefully just get to cash it for neutral. Well, there's a chance they've got ABM treaty here as well. It's worth remembering, but SALT negotiations makes it a little harder, plus the fact that we've got the Chile-Uruguay rail line on Argentina. So let's see what happens. Not loving giving them the kitchen debates VPs either, I have to say. Puppet governments and nuclear subs might go to space here. Kind of wouldn't mind attacking the space race a little bit this turn. So our opponent is running a little low on time. Only got 18 minutes to finish. I think we're in an okay position. Like, it's not great, but we're not dead. Okay, that improves my mood slightly. We'll go ahead and pull the trigger on this because it's not going to get any better. Come on, come on. Yes! All right. Finally. Something going our way. Good. Good. Well, that SALT play paid off. It's always risky headlining SALT negotiations, but I'm glad it paid off. Also, giving them the China card when Lone Gunman's still out there is obviously also not ideal, but I think hopefully taking this, hopefully what turns out to be an extra VP. I mean, they could obviously flip last now, but I think they're probably a little bit more interested in Brazil than in what's going on in Cambodia. We shall see. We shall see. So hopefully we can get away with a 2-op rear line. They might just obviously play an op into Uruguay or Venezuela here. If they do, then part of me just says, let's cash this for 5 rather than faffing around here. But let's see what happens. Because we don't have the greatest number of ops, and we do kind of want to attack space, like I said earlier. It'd also be nice while we have things like NATO to overprotect those Asian battlegrounds so we don't get blown out there again. Especially now that we've given them the China card. I presume that they're either waiting for or are going to place it at this turn. We can flip Zaire as well, though. That's the other thing. Okay. So they got nothing from that. A little bit annoying because it means we can't go to space twice, but a last AR nuclear sub's probably not going to be too much of a problem. Let's go ahead and reline Brazil here. Come on. Nope. Come on. Come on. Yes, you just got to ask. You just got to ask. All right. So we've got to remember we've got 3 more plays. So after this NATO, we're holding everything else. So we'll go into Brazil and then probably want to overprotect. If we're playing 2 scoring cards after that, yeah, it does mean that overprotecting becomes a little more important. We're also a bit vulnerable in East Germany, so I kind of want to get one up there as well. Okay, well, their hand's not amazing by the looks of things, but let's go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because them going into the turn, being able to attack us with the China card is not ideal. if they were to break North Korea on the final action round. It was also possible that we could have put one into Laos there, and they don't know that our last 2 action rounds are going to be empty, but it's better to be safe than let them have the read and absolutely get us. Okay, well, I mean, they're at -1. Well, they got it back. Like, whatevs. We gave it a go. Like, we're now in no worse position. I mean, we're in a slightly worse position than we were before the last action round, but like we lost 3 VPs then if we just cashed it for 8. But, you know, they had to have it. They had it. It happens. And given the pattern of play up till then, I wasn't like super confident that they did have it, but you know, good on them for waiting. It makes sense to wait until right before we cash it to go ahead and do it. And now we've got to play Southeast Asia last AR. But, you know, again, we gave ourselves the best chance to score the most amount of victory points there. So I'm not too upset about it. I feel like if we can manage to snag a coup next turn, it's going to be a pretty big deal. So Missile Envy's gone. Okay. So go ahead and score that. Put the VPs back to even. Would have been nice to get a bit further ahead this turn. I feel like we had some good momentum to ride there. But that's okay. Salting for Brush War, succeeding, worked out really well. Well, they're fortunate that they had the one small step there, I think. So we've got a terrible hand here for us. We've got the IP war as a possibility. I think we want to quagmire them, make them toss out their bad cards, and then ask not them. I think that's probably a good way to go. We could quagmire them mid-turn rather than headlining it, but then like what do we headline instead? Maybe Indo-Pakistani war, maybe kitchen debates. So what are our targets for quagmire? Like we want to coup Angola and then play into Zaire, I guess. That's probably it. We could also try and take France with a quagmire, but that doesn't feel amazing. We can headline NTB, but that's also pretty terrible, I think. Yeah. So have they selected a headline card? Or, oh, we have to show them our headline. Kind of think maybe IP war then over quagmire, because I mean they've got defectors, we know that now, don't we? Pretty sure. Or was there, wait, was there a reshuffle this turn? Yeah, so they've got defectors unless it was out on turn 3. No, do they? Hang on. Did they play it on an action round? No, they played it on turn 2, right? Yeah. Oh, they did. They played on turn 5. Okay. So they don't definitely have defectors. Makes me a little more inclined to quagmire them. But I don't think it's that important that we quagmire them. I think we'll do this and then quagmire them in an action round. Like, as in, I don't think the differential between us quagmiring them in the headline phase here is huge. Yes, it like lets us make some like big bad plays into France, but if we get killed here with Red Scare, it's going to be pretty annoying. Okay, well, we didn't get killed with Red Scare. That's nice. Okay, no success. We don't want to give them this because we know that they've got Cultural Revolution. Maybe we give them the VPs from Nixon now. And maybe that's a good enough coup on Angola. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. A good enough roll. Not a great roll, but a good enough roll. If only we could ask not ourselves, that'd be very enjoyable. Okay, Olympic Games, realignment. Okay, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll hope that Middle East scoring, pardon me, comes out before Asia scoring, because that's a big VP differential between the two. So they do have Sadat, they do have Lone Gunman, which is another reason why we don't want to give them this. So we'll probably try and hold this to next turn if we can. I'm going to space grain sales next AR probably. So we know they got Cultural Revolution. Yeah, that was unfortunate for them. +1 and didn't work out. So the priorities are to get grain sales out of our hand and then realign Brazil, I think, here. We'll probably try and quagmire them middle of the turn, but not until we've seen them deal with Cultural Revolution. Oh, thank goodness. I thought they were about to event that. Oh. Okay. So at least we know they're not stream sniping us. That's very good. I mean, we weren't dead. We could hold the grain sales, but it was not ideal. If they had Red Scare and then a hand size cutter, we were in a lot of trouble. Okay. Well, do we quagmire them? I mean, that was... like, they were not the best realigns. We could also kitchen debates coup Nicaragua here. But I feel like realigning them out of Brazil is probably going to be a pretty big deal. It's just about what card do we use to do it. Kitchen debates is candidate. I think we... again, I don't want to quagmire until we've seen Cultural Revolution. Okay. Let's try this realignment on for size, see how we go. No dice. Okay. So similar is similar. They could break us in Venezuela here. Yeah, okay. Cool. Well, I think we can afford to play puppet governments. Let's see, what do they get? They get Greece and Turkey. I don't like that, actually. I think I'd probably rather fill up one of the Mediterranean countries with that. So we may have to quagmire and just place influence with it. Yeah. Our hand's pretty bad. We're going to have some pretty awkward plays from now on, but... So do they, I think. I mean, they've got the China card, so it's not fully awkward, their hand, but... like, they could give it to us, play it, give it to us, and then play Cultural Revolution. I wouldn't mind seeing that, because it makes Ames next turn really good for us. But yeah, I definitely want to try and get control of Greece before we... go ahead and give them puppet governments. Okay. Well, that gives us the space to do that. So they get like one in Cuba, one in Turkey, maybe one in Paraguay, one in Jordan, Taiwan. but not the worst puppet governments of all time. And then we're going to space grain sales and probably play nuclear subs, hold ask not, because we know that they've got lone gunmen, and then we'll try and space this next turn. Just force them to keep holding lone gunmen. And a reminder that Asia is not currently as bad as it looks. Well, I mean, it's currently as bad as it looks, but it's not permanently as bad as it looks. So if we can snag back the China card, US-Japan's been played, so playing into Japan is an option. Jamming into India is an option. Either way, we're not going to take domination, but it could be a decent play. But there's probably going to be more profitable places for us to play on the board. Cooing Libya would be nice here, but the fact that we flipped Africa back this turn is good. Yes, we lost Cuba, but I think flipping Africa back was quite good for us. If we can kick them out of Cameroon here, it'll be reasonable. Okay, interesting. Just taking Cuba. So we'll go ahead and space this. So no second space for them this turn. So the hand right now is Cultural Revolution, Lone Gunman, and Unknown. Muslim Revolution. Okay. So they're either going to have to play the China card or play Cultural Revolution next AR. And we're going to play nuclear subs. To place influence in... Argentina, or do we want to realign actually? Yeah, I think realignment is better. Realign Brazil and Brazil or Argentina. Argentina is far more likely, but I think Brazil is more important. Okay, so they get one coup on Argentina with the China card, which is not ideal. I don't think it was better for us to play Ask Not there. I just don't. Maybe it was better for us to realign Argentina there, but yeah, it's a bit nasty. Like maybe they coup Zaire instead. Maybe they're worried about Africa. I think the fact that we can realign them back in Argentina, if they roll poorly, probably pushes them against that coup. But like China card coup on Zaire is also not great. So I don't know. They could just play Cultural Revolution. No, it is a China card coup. And it's Angola. Okay. I think that's even better for us. Wow, this is a sweet hand. And now we get to Aldrich Ames them. If we want, like we could do it AR1 or AR2 instead. I think that's probably better. But they get to see our headline. So if we Aldrich Ames, they just headline Lone Gunman. I think we have to headline Cuban Missile Crisis and then play Aldrich Ames. I think that's the only way we win here for sure. Yeah. So they can remove from West Germany, but as long as we degrade DEFCON, unless they've got a way to improve DEFCON, we probably win if we Cuban Missile Crisis. And then coup, and then Aldrich Ames. So we can coup Angola now with Reagan bombs Libya. We've drawn Brush War again, which is handy. Might even Brush War Libya. Probably won't. We'll probably Brush War Brazil. Okay. Interesting. Well, a good roll. Okay, so now we can actually Aldrich Ames because DEFCON is at 2. So we get rid of an evil empire. And I think they're in a bit of trouble. Wait, they didn't have another way to... I just need to double check that they didn't have another way to change DEFCON. Pershing doesn't change DEFCON. Hostage Crisis, Shay, Cultural Revolution, Middle East Scoring, Solidarity. None of them change DEFCON. Yep. So it's this. Cool. So we just need to not give them that, and we should be right. Then no war games. They're not going to be able to outscore us. They've got pretty bad hand, all things considered. Let's see. I'll have a look. So Middle East scoring is not going to do a huge amount. Cultural Revolution is going to give us a VP. Pershing's going to be a little annoying for them. Shay's going to protect our position in Africa a little bit. Or not. Yes, 6 cards left. They are going to have to kill themselves. Good. Okay, so we'll play Iran-Iraq War. 1 into Nigeria. Maybe just 2 into Nigeria. Feels okay. Thank you, Ichak for that comment. I agree. It is very evil. So we just want to make sure we don't flub this somehow. None of these cards impacts on our ability to kill them. And we've got 5 more cards to play, so that's fine. So I think we can just go ahead and brush for Venezuela. That's what we want to do. And that's a success. Pershing goes to space. Yeah, we were very lucky to draw Cuban Missile Crisis there. There weren't many opportunities for us to degrade DEFCON in the headline phase, particularly since we already used We Will Bury You, so you're right. It was especially lucky. So Reagan bombs Libya is free for us here. We'll just realign in Brazil. Try and finally get them out of here. Come on. All right. About time. So what have we got coming up? Shay and Iranian hostage crisis will both be nice for us. Shay's first out of the blocks. Let's go ahead and take Cameroon. And I think Zimbabwe over Nicaragua at this point. Cool. So Solidarity, Iranian hostage crisis, and lone gunman remaining. Well, I think we'll just space this now. Nope. Probably go NORAD into Brazil and one in South Korea, perhaps. Place influence, 2 in Brazil, 1 in South Korea. Solidarity, and then Lone Gunman. So Chernobyl. Go 1, 2, 3, I think. And that should hopefully do it. I think the way the board was sitting at the moment, like our opponents played out this turn as though the game's going to continue. And a lot of our good cards in the late war came out this turn in their hand. But a fair few decent cards for them also came out, and we were lucky to obviously have Brush War 3 times, helped us to solidify South America. But yeah, I think we were in decent shape here, depending on how the coups went in the next couple of turns, to maybe hold Africa. And if we hold Africa, we hold 4 continents, and it's going to be a little challenging for them to come back, to hold on for the win. But it's always possible. I mean, you know, tear down this wall and going last, VOA's out of the way is huge. Like, that's just such a big play. Turn 10 AR7, but I think we had a decent shot at winning if things went all the way. So attempt coup in Zaire, and US will lose the game. Very good. So GG. Thanks for the game. Things got a little bit tight on turn 7 there when we had the grain sales in hand. We didn't have the China card. They could have red scared us, so we couldn't space grain sales, which would have forced us to play Ask Not to hold the grain sales over, and then that would have led to us having obviously a worse hand on turn 8, but also our opponent not dying to Lone Gunman, because they would have been able to get rid of it with the Ask Not. So very grateful that they didn't either headline the Ask Not or play it in the action round. But yeah, everything worked out pretty well. It was a tight tussle all the way, but thankfully managed to get there in the end with the combination of Ames and Lone Gunman, which was the way, of course, that I got defeated in the International Twilight Struggle League playoffs. So I guess it's kind of nice that it comes around and works for me in the end in a different match. So anyway, thanks for watching. I've been Jessemarshall for The Winning Agenda. If you've enjoyed the videos and enjoyed the coverage and you'd like to see some more, feel free to like and subscribe or follow us on Twitch. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time. Cheers.